Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming out, and thank you so much to Microsoft for helping us host this talk. This is the first talk in our Tech Plus X series, and please go to the Facebook event for the series to learn more about the other topics. Technica is going to take place on November 9th to November 10th, and even if you don't identify as female, you're still more than welcome to volunteer or mentor at the event. Now I'll hand it off to Julia for the talk.
You're actually going to hear from me for a quick second first. My name is Erin Creighton. I run recruiting efforts, university recruiting at University of Maryland. So I've probably emailed you or chatted with you or seen you at a career fair here before. First of all, big thank you to the Technica team. We love working with such organized and passionate student groups. Microsoft will have a booth presence as well as some mentors at Technica as well. So if you want to connect with us there in November, we look forward to seeing you there again. I'll let Julia do most of the talking for today, but just wanted to introduce myself. We can talk a little bit more if you have individual recruiting questions or things like that at the end. We have the links to our online applications up here when you come grab your micro socks. I think we should have enough for everyone. And then I also wanted to introduce my colleague here, Rachel, who will be around after the event for any questions that you have too.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I went to University of Virginia, so not UMD, but I've been at Microsoft for now a year, and I'm a software engineer on Azure SQL Data, so I'll be here at the end to answer any questions that you might have about life in Seattle, just life at Microsoft, any questions you might have. So, okay.
And I'm Julia. I'll be giving you guys the talk today. I graduated from UMD in December 2017, and I've been at Microsoft for a little over a year now. I work in Office, so like Outlook or Calendar, and I am in the AI and ML space in Office as a PM.
Well, we'll turn it away to you. I'll come up at the end and we'll be here to give away swag and answer any questions. Let Julia kick it off and then we'll have some space at the end for questions for her. Thanks for having us, guys.
Okay, I'm not going to use a mic. Can everyone hear me okay? Yeah, awesome. All right, so like I mentioned, I went to UMD, and one of my favorite Facebook groups was UMD Memes for Fearless Teens. Anyone know that one? Okay, sounds like you do. So this is kind of what some memes looked like when I went to school here. We also had this one, 2017. I hear you guys have EDU Rome, right? But it's not great. I tested it today. But the Wi-Fi might not be great on campus here, but imagine trying to go to school without internet connectivity. And that's a problem that's faced all over the world today. 53% of people around the world actually don't have internet connection. So imagine trying to go to school and not getting access to those online resources that you get every single day now. Maybe you're not getting it 100% of the time, but at least you get something, right? So let me backtrack a bit. I'm curious, how many of you have done a hackathon before? Can you raise your hands? A lot of you. Wow, that's super awesome. So you're way ahead of where I was. When I went to UMD, I was always super nervous and not really confident of my technical skills. So I did attend Technica, but I only did the workshops. I didn't really do any projects because I didn't ever feel like I could contribute. So not great, but I built up my confidence eventually. I landed a job at Microsoft, and luckily enough, Microsoft has one of the biggest hackathons in the world. I think it's the biggest private hackathon in the world. And so we had 27,000 hackers this year, almost 7,000 projects I could have chosen from, and it was global. So going back to the whole internet thing, I know I'm super passionate about education. That was a huge problem that I knew about before, and I was like, okay, this is the moment where I can actually participate in a hackathon. I felt like I was confident and that I could contribute. So sifting through the couple thousand projects, I narrowed it down, put some education filters on there, made sure it was in my city because I wasn't going to go somewhere for the hackathon. And eventually I came across a project that was called Offline Education on the Edge. Buzzwordy, I don't really know what this means. started reading the description. It was like IoT devices, maybe a little bit of connect the unconnected, connecting schools with no or low internet connectivity. But I was wondering, how can you have connectivity with no internet? You might have seen this one too. So this is where I stumbled upon this project. We worked with a company called JPIK that's a leader in education and using like technology to help with education across the world. And they work with this device called CAP. It's a content access point, and that's what it looks like. It's basically like an access point that you would have at home, like a router. But it stores content offline, like cached. So you can actually access content, you can upload things like Khan Academy, you can put custom content on there, and students can connect to it and browse this content and get access just like you would. Because a lot of these countries actually have laptops, people have cell phones, they have devices, they just don't have that internet connectivity. And JPIK's mission is to use technology to make education accessible everywhere. So I really love this project, and that's how I dove right into it. And let me just preface this with, I did this at week 3 at Microsoft. So like literally the 3rd week of work, I started doing this, and that was over a year ago, and I'm still working on this project. And I'll talk more about the journey that I went through with this. So this is kind of what it would look like when you connect to the CAP. You can see that there's different content on there, Wikipedia, Khan Academy, TED Talks. You can also put your own curriculum on there, whatever you want. This is an example of like Khan Academy on a stick, which is open source, something we uploaded to the CAP. So you might be wondering now, like this company did this, but where does Microsoft come in? Like what did we do? And we figured that out at 8 p.m. after work most of the time. But we saw 2 opportunities where we could like have impact with this product. The first thing was telemetry, so that's like data. One big thing that they had an issue with was they would give these devices to schools. Imagine like you're the government, you sponsor this big program, you order all these devices, and you're like, great, everyone's gonna have resources at school now. But you don't know what they're being used for. It's like a completely dark device. You don't know what content people are accessing, you don't know if people are using it in the first place, you don't know if they went missing, if they're still at the school. So that was one thing. And the second thing is actually updating the content was really challenging. So the way that they would have to update it is with a USB drive. You'd have to physically mail a USB drive. And as you can imagine, doing that at scale was not super easy. So what did we do? We put Azure on the device and turned it into an IoT device. So this is super high level what we did. Basically, with Azure, when the device gets connected, even if it's like once a month, you can bring it into town, connect it with an Ethernet. It also has a SIM card in it, so you can actually connect it via cellular. There's other technologies out there like Airband. You can actually get content updates onto the CAP without like the physical USB drive. And in addition, it sends data and insights back so that program sponsors, whoever might have sent these CAPs out to schools, will actually see a dashboard similar to this, showing what is it being used for, where are they located, what stuff is being accessed. And here's a bit in depth of the dashboard that we developed. We did this all during hackathons and a little bit outside of work too. So this is just some of the data we've been collecting. Some of it is like test data, so it's not like 100% accurate, but this is literally the dashboard that we developed by getting metrics out from the CAP. So I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the technical implementation because I know a lot of you are probably in ComSci and are curious how this was implemented. And also, maybe you're wondering, how can I do something like this during Technica? So I'm going to ask, what is an IoT device? Can anyone tell me what an IoT device is? And if you try, you get a backpack.
Is it just a device that's connected to the internet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's getting there. So you're saying a device that's connected to the internet. Anyone else want to add to that? Internet of Things, yeah, that's what IoT stands for. Do you want to expand on that?
Basically how like multiple devices to just the nature and how each are interconnected with the actual.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
It's like your Nest thermostat is an IoT device, so you can connect and send data to that device.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll take one more.
Audience participation is a good thing. Right.
Yeah, sort of like making things that are used every day but not connected to the internet right now, coming up with creative solutions to actually make them connect to the internet. So like smartphones, smart TVs, like a lot of like smart speakers also. Just things that normally don't connect to the internet, like you want to connect to.
Yeah. So here's my Wikipedia answer. So it's basically a network of physical objects. They can be literally anything, and they're connected over the network, and it enables objects to collect and exchange data. So what we were trying to do is basically collect and exchange data with this CAP device. And that's why we kind of turning it into an IoT device. Going in depth, specifically Microsoft has something called IoT Edge, which is what we used in order to kind of configure this as an IoT device. So these would be like your student laptops, and then the CAP turns into your Azure IoT device. And the way that we did this is you basically use Docker containers and modules, and a module is something that can run like an Azure service, your own code, like you can write whatever you want for it to like do. So for example, we wrote a send updates module and a get data module, like literally two simple modules. Then you have your Azure IoT runtime, which is also on the device deployed as a Docker container. And this basically makes sure that the modules are running on the device every time you start up the device. And lastly, you have your IoT Hub, which is basically just your Azure portal. It's the cloud. So when you go to Azure, you would see the data, you would see the telemetry, you would see all the devices that you have connected. So that's high level how it works. If you're curious, I'm pretty sure this is all open source. You can try it out. You can actually turn your Windows device into like an IoT device. You can also do this with a Raspberry Pi, like almost probably everything. So check it out. So what happened next after we kind of hacked on this the first time? We continued to want to work on it because we felt like almost the whole team felt like it was a worthwhile project. It could have potential impact. So we entered Hack for Good, and we were one of the top 5 projects. We won a big check that goes to the nonprofit. I didn't get to keep it. It's bittersweet. No, I'm kidding. It's great. And then we worked some more, long hours, drank some beer, got together. We entered another Hack for Good. There's 2 a year at Microsoft. We were winners again. As you can see, our team grew a little bit from the previous picture, so we're kind of picking up speed. And then we got presented new opportunities. So we actually had someone on our team reach out to us, and he had mentioned that there was an initiative called eSkills for Girls. And this is an initiative that is tackling like gender divide in countries. It's trying to boost access to like technical education, especially to girls in developing countries. So the German government, long story short, is funding this program. They heard about our product and they were like, we think you can help. Because there was this program in Ghana that was actually developing a new technical curriculum. This technical curriculum was going to be given to girls' technical schools that traditionally teach things like sewing, cooking, and they wanted to add in skills that they thought could bring their career to another level. So this included software engineering, networking, hardware, but they didn't have a way to actually deliver this content because it was in schools that didn't have internet connectivity or didn't have reliable internet connectivity. And the people developing the program obviously didn't want to just blindly send devices out, put content on it, and be like, here you go, hope it works. They wanted something that was more dynamic, something they could improve on and iterate on. So that's where we came in. And you can see that this is kind of high level how it would work in the classroom. It works just like your regular router would. You just put one in the class and then you can connect student and teacher devices to it. So, luckily enough, my manager's manager heard about this project, and me and a coworker actually went to Ghana to pilot this and test it out, which is amazing. I'm honestly speaking, is what company would do this? I've been working at the company for a year at this point. I've been working on this project for hackathons and like Thursdays after work, but this is totally a side project. And my manager and my coworker's manager sponsored us to go. So we actually sat with the professors that were developing the content. That's the picture in the top right. We were showing them our solution and they were showing us their content that they were writing. We ate some food, we visited the schools. So those pictures at the bottom are pictures of the school, and the bottom right is the picture of their computer lab. So they were planning on upgrading this computer lab with brand new devices, but as you can imagine, routing internet to a place that's pretty rural is really expensive. So that was kind of the missing link. So that was super awesome. Yeah. What happened afterwards? So we did this. We're still working on it. We're helping them work through solutions. We're actually working with another company now called World Possible that has a really similar device called Rachel, which is Remote Area Community Hotspot for Education and Learning. They have the exact same problems. And we are basically open sourcing the solution to any devices that are delivering content to communities. This can be used on devices that aren't even used in education, but it basically gives you that intermittent connectivity to gather data and send updates to places that may not have been able to before. So we're continuing to iterate, create, fail, and build. We're working with all those organizations. And this is all in my free time, but supported by Microsoft, supported by my managers. And it's super cool because it's a really impactful project. So I wanted to wrap up and jump to Microsoft's mission because this really speaks to what I've been doing. And I'm curious if anyone knows Microsoft's mission, their old one or their new one.
I'll try to get it right. Empower everyone in the world to live a productive, happy life.
Close, yes. That's really good.
Every person in every organization on the planet to achieve.
Did you read that?
Word for word.
Does anyone know the old one? No? Put a computer on.
Put a PC on every desk in every home. Am I really the only person who knew that? Wow.
So yeah, you got it right. It's empower every person and every organization on the planet to achieve more. And I'm getting goosebumps saying this because it's literally no joke. Through the hackathon, through your work, I truly feel like I'm empowering everyone to do more. I feel like Microsoft empowers me to empower everyone else. And I promise that Aaron didn't pay me to say this. So I'm just really grateful, and I wanted to spread the love to you guys. And if you have any questions about my project, feel free to ask me. But I dare you guys to do the same. So when you're doing Technica in a month, I dare you to also try to empower everyone else to achieve more. And then going after Technica, my advice to you is do things outside of school and work, try new things, try things you don't know about, suck and fail at them, try again, and then empower everyone to achieve more. Yay! Yeah. And so I'll open it up to questions. You can ask me questions on my project. You can ask any of us questions about life and Microsoft. And yeah. And sorry if I don't get every question right because I'm still learning.
So I'm just curious about the devices you were working on. When you connect them to the school, It's basically just like a big router that is able to reach the entire school, and then that is connected through a cable.
So you actually don't need to connect it. So a regular router would be connected through an Ethernet connection, but all you need for this device is power, and then it has all the cached content onto it. So, and then if you want, it can serve as a regular router if you have an Ethernet plugged into it. So in areas where there's like intermittent connectivity, maybe you're like losing power and internet occasionally, this device also works because you can use it as like a regular like way to get to the internet, but then if the internet goes out, you still have access to all the educational content that you need. And then it also has like a battery life, so it'll still work if like the power goes out, for example, which is something that happens in a lot of these schools.
What kind of projects do you see yourself doing in the next couple of years?
That's a good question.
Can you repeat the question?
Yep. So he asked, what kind of projects do I see myself doing? I honestly see myself continuing to work with this one because I've already invested a lot of time into it. I've been working on it for a year now, and I like really see the impact of it. The nonprofit that I'm working with has a lot of other projects that are kind of related to IoT, so I'm helping out with those a little bit as well. I don't see myself jumping onto other projects, but so I have this one in my work one, so I'll probably stick with this for a while.
How do you manage the side projects with your work projects? Like what strategy do you use? Does Microsoft still contribute a lot to your side projects?
Yeah, good question. So how do I balance doing my side project and my regular work? So this doesn't overlap with my work time at all, so this is totally on top of my work time and voluntary. The way that I manage it is I dedicate my Thursday nights to this. We all meet Thursdays after work at like 5:30. We usually get food and it's like really fun, so I like don't like dread going to this. Like it's a highlight of my Thursday. And then hackathons, of course. And then Microsoft encourages you to do these kind of things because they actually match every single hour that I work on this project. They match and give the nonprofit $25 an hour. So
And that doesn't have to be tech related. Like
Yeah.
I teach dance at a local theater school, and like Microsoft donates to them as well. So it could be tech passions or outside of
Yep.
stuff too.
So that keeps me, into it, back there. Can you speak up a little bit?
How many contents for the doctor are taken in the and remotely the doctors are
Mm-hmm.
how is it updated in 6 months?
Yeah, so the contents of the device can be updated whenever it connects to the internet. So you can connect it via cellular, put a SIM card in it. Oh, sorry, I didn't repeat the question. How are did I repeat it? I forget. How are the contents updated? But it's basically, you can bring the device in, let's say like once a month into town and connect it at your local library, or you can put a SIM card in it, and that's how it will update all the content. You have to install Docker and all that stuff beforehand, obviously. We're working with the companies to actually put that into like the factory build of the device.
What are our short-term goals for this project? Like, do you have any statistics you'd like to reach? And also, like, do you ever find yourself wishing you would spend more time on like projects like this?
Yeah. So the question was, what are my short-term goals? What are we hoping to achieve? And then, do I wish I could spend more time on this project? So I obviously wish I could spend more time on this project. I think like we could do like 1,000 things, but obviously we're all limited by full-time jobs. But short-term goals will be to like make it a much more like stable environment. Like it's still like POC, we're testing it. Like I would say it would be really awesome if IoT was integrated in every single build of this device, for example. And then we have this pilot, and then the company JPIK is using it on a few of their devices. But for example, expanding and making sure that Rachel is using it on their devices. So kind of these small wins of them actually integrating our like software into their products is our short-term goals.
Are you thinking of expanding to any other countries? Like I know in Hackathon they don't have
Yeah, good question. So the question was, are we looking to expand to other countries? That's a really good question. So we primarily work like with the companies that build the devices or like actually create the devices. So they're the ones that are distributing the devices, and it's kind of up to them. We did the pilot as like a side initiative as well, but I believe like you can buy their tech and like deploy it today, and so it's kind of up to these like government organizations or other nonprofits to sponsor to have these devices in schools and other areas. So we ourselves aren't like deploying the devices. Yeah. So we did this summer, and right now they're in the process. Oh, the question was, sorry, have we heard back from the schools in Ghana? So yeah, we did this summer, and their semester is going on right now. So they're piloting it with the 3 devices that we gave them, that we left there, and they are like working with their organization to see if they have funding to continue the program.
So how did you figure out, were you guys all about to put national education content on?
Good question. So the content that's put onto the device is mostly like, if you're buying the device, you can put it on yourself. So there's a lot of like open source things, like Wikipedia is open source and you're allowed to copy onto these things, or Khan Academy. And then also, like for example, the schools in Ghana develop their own content to put in the device. So the device like comes, and I don't think it's pre-configured, but you as like an educator can decide what to put on the device.
What's your biggest aspiration with this project, whether it's like education-wise or
Yeah. So what is my aspiration with this project? That's a really good question. So like my North Star and like my ideal state of this would be to basically, this would create a positive feedback loop, I think. Being able to get data and actually be able to update these devices would encourage organizations to actually deploy these devices, because if they can see, oh, it's being used by 100 students and they're using it for like 50 hours a week. Before, they weren't able to see this kind of stuff, and it was kind of just totally dark when they deployed it. So my goal is that with this like telemetry and with this like clarity of what impacts these companies can have, they'll want to bring these to more schools, that educators will want to actually buy these, and that it'll kind of continue to spread and bring like technical resources to schools that previously did not have them.
How did your role in the program manager help you with this side project?
Good question. How did my role as a program manager help me with the side project? It's a hard question. I think I wouldn't say my role as a program manager helped me. Like, I am not specifically coding for this project. I would say I'm more thinking about like the next like features we can build. I like have like weekly calls with JPIK, and we like demo them what we've worked on, and then they give us feedback, and then we kind of reprioritize what we want to do. And that's a lot of what I do as a program manager at Microsoft. You look at like what's the next step that this product is going to have, like what is the priority that we have, and then working with the engineers to actually implement it. So I'm like driving a lot of the hackathon work that we do, and kind of like rallying everyone up behind the cause and explaining the project to them. So that's kind of my role. Yeah, you. Can you repeat it a little louder? Sorry. Yeah, definitely. So you can definitely expand this beyond the classroom. Oh, the question was, can you expand this beyond the classroom? You could totally like use this in a hospital and run or keep a database of patients. And basically you create this like hub where all the computers can connect and get the same information. So it can totally be used outside of the classroom. We haven't looked at working with projects that are doing that yet, just because we want to keep our scope a little smaller and manageable, but that would also be like a North Star goal. Yes.
What advice would you give to someone who's looking for an impactful project to do like this, a hackathon,
Mm-hmm.
and like they don't know where to start.
Yeah, good question. So what advice would I give to someone who's looking for an impactful project and they don't know where to start? I would say like figure out what you're interested in, and then go to things like Technica. Sign up for clubs that are doing cool stuff. Sign up for other hackathons outside of Technica, and just look at the projects and start coding. Or start your own project. Start some projects with your friends. Capstones are good places too to kind of like take things in your own direction. And you can always continue those things outside of school and work. So just put yourself out there, and like you can always stop if you like don't like what you're doing. Like you can just not do it anymore. So
Outside this project that you talked about, what's been the most rewarding experience for yourself?
outside of this project, what has been my most rewarding experience at Microsoft? Whew, that's a really hard question. I don't know if I can pin it to one experience. I think just like, I don't think my manager has ever said no to me. Like, if I'm like, can I go to this conference because I think it will benefit me as a human? He's like, yes, go. Like, can I go take a week off work to work on this hackathon? This hackathon is a week long, by the way. And so, like, no productivity happens. Like, he says, yes, I'm here right now, not working, technically. So just, like, having the flexibility to do things that I'm passionate about outside of, like, my regular day job has been the most rewarding thing about working at Microsoft. I know it's, like, a super big answer, I'm sorry. Yeah, so actually the company, the question is, sorry, I repeat it. The question is there any software on the device so like students can submit assignments or like have that student-teacher relationship? So that's actually part of the package that like JPIK has. When you purchase the device, you can also like get software to like have like this kind of management system of lesson planner, exam submission, yada yada. Yeah, so it's there. Yes.
You said that earlier in college you had to kind of build up your confidence before you landed this job. What advice do you have like, in that regard? Was there anything specific that you did? Or?
Yeah, good question. So I wasn't very confident before working at Microsoft and at school, and what did I do to build this up? I don't think I ever made it like confident, but I would say just like keep trying. Like I literally think I submitted my resume to like every single company on the planet, and then even if I didn't care to work at that company, I don't know if this is bad advice, but I would still interview because like it would like give me practice. I would like just be a better speaker, and I would get coding like practice. So I think that gave me more confidence, and then just realizing, like this is super random, but I remember reading an article that said women, when they're coding, if something doesn't work, they literally most of the time delete everything and start over. And men actually don't do that. They like try to like figure it out or something. So like that really hit me, and I realized I do that too. Like I'll stare at like a blank screen and be like, I don't know what to do. And I think just learning to do something is like kind of made me work up to being able to do stuff like this, and also you can like always undo. Yeah, which I like clearly didn't know. So yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
So I'm gonna ask, how affordable is it for like schools in Ghana?
Can you repeat that?
How affordable is it for schools in Ghana?
Yeah. Okay, good question. How affordable is it for schools in Ghana to purchase this? So I think a device like this costs around $300, which might seem expensive as a college student, but if you think about the cost it would take to route internet to a school and actually pay for internet, like $300 is pretty affordable. Any other questions? You can ask them questions too.
close out too if you guys don't have questions. Let's give Julia another round of applause. I hope you guys learned something about how to succeed in your hackathons at Technica and beyond, or about the impacts that you can make within tech in other areas and the intersection of other areas in your life. Definitely check out the other talks that are happening with the Tech Plus in this week and next as you kind of prepare for hackathon season. Good luck on your midterms. We'll be around here as well if you want to ask any individual questions about me as a recruiter, Rachel as another software engineer, kind of life post-college. If you have any individual questions or things like that, come grab your Microsoft socks. We also have links to our online applications, and thank you guys so much. Awesome.